Welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for this week's Small Business Essential webinar. Today's topic: how how to find your most profitable customer. My name is TJ Daniels, and I'm the director for the Iowa Center's Women's Business Center. The Iowa Center's Women's Business Center is funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Small Business Administration. You will receive an email after this event from my colleague Katie Hinches thanking you for attending today's session, information on how to connect to our speaker, as well as a form to complete. Please do us a big favor and take some time to fill out this form. This information allows us to continue providing free educational programming for small business owners in Iowa. Now go ahead and please take some time to locate the chat function on your Zoom screens so you can join the conversation by asking questions or adding comments. Also, feel free to introduce yourself and your business in the chat and include your website or social media page so we could visit and learn more about your business and network. And now, a little information about today's speaker, Kristine Winter. Kristine is the founder of BrandSpec Marketing in Des Moines, Iowa. Kristine is driven by a passion to help small businesses create simple, effective, and affordable marketing while providing the right solution to meet their organizational needs and support their success. With over 25 years in both corporate and agency marketing, she is your guide to improving the use of your marketing channels to reach your most profitable customers. As a certified marketing consultant, she shows clients how to create a marketing system that gets the job done and coaches in-house staff on how to manage it. So with that, Kristine, thank you for being here today, and I will hand the screen over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you, TJ. All right. And so everyone can see my screen? Just want to make sure we've got the technology working here.
Yes, everything's
Oh,
looking
wonderful.
good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I love to talk, period, but then love to talk all things marketing. And I want to start out by saying that today I join you definitely as a marketer with quite a few years of experience. But I also join you as a small business owner. Actually, I've started and owned 2 small businesses. My very first business started a little challenged, maybe. I came home one day and told my husband that I was going to quit my corporate marketing job at the time. And he said to me, "Okay, well, what are you going to do next?" And my response was, "I have no idea." And luckily for me and for our marriage, he didn't divorce me. He was supportive as I hung out my own shingle and started a full service marketing agency now 14 years ago. I was very fortunate in that I got to grow it into a great team of employees and working with some great clients. And then along the way, I decided I wanted to live a dream that I had had even before I started the agency. And that was to open up a brick and mortar business. So in 2019, I did all the work, did all the research, and I opened a brick and mortar women's clothing boutique dedicated to the professional woman. That was 6 months before COVID hit. So that's a whole other story for another time. But I share this with you today so that you understand that I'm coming to you as a small business owner who has learned a lot of lessons, who's learned some good lessons, but I've also made some mistakes. And I'm going to share those with you as well today so that I can help you build a better business. So let's get started. The first thing I'd like to ask you to do, if you haven't already, is grab a piece of paper or a notebook, because I'm going to give you an acronym to write down to help you remember the key topics that we're going to discuss today. And they say research says an acronym is a great way to have a word or something that you can sound out that will help you remember what's talked about. So are you ready for my acronym for today's presentation? All right, here goes. Whoops. Okay, now if I could see all your faces, I think there'd be a few faces twisted in, what? What does that spell? What's that acronym? Maybe a few of you are already thinking, okay, why did I sign up for this webinar? This woman does not know how to spell. Uh, Actually, what I've done here is I'm making a point that for your customers, your most profitable customers, to find you online, you need to have a system in place, a system that includes step-by-steps that can't be rearranged. So there was no way to take the main steps and rearrange them into a word that made sense. Because here are the steps that we're going to cover today. So we have a lot of information to cover, but I'm going to talk about these as the foundational elements for your ideal customer to find you online. Okay, so if you want to follow along and jot some notes down next to each letter, hopefully that will help you with what we're discussing today. And, I hear all the time how marketing has changed just so much, but really what's changed about marketing is how people buy. It used to be a very simple process. Looked something like this. Very lineal, not a lot of channels, maybe a lot of competition in the industry, so it seemed pretty easy. But today, the buying process is a little more like this. It looks a little disjointed, doesn't it? And I think to our customers, it looks a little confusing. I mean, there's just so many marketing channels that they can go to for information. So our customers are confused. Frankly, a lot of companies are confused about how to reach their buyer, given the fact that our buyer might go to one thing and then back to another, and then have their attention totally brought off into something else. And so it's our job as small business owners and then as marketers to lead our buyers on a journey or a process. And the best way to do that saves your time as a small business owner and definitely your marketing budget, is to have a system, a true system in place. And that system looks a little bit like this. This is a system that I use. I've used bits and pieces of it and parts of it all through my marketing career. This is a system that I've learned through becoming a certified consultant through the Duct Tape Marketing Network, which I know has a little bit of an interesting name, but the leader is written tons of books and is a very well-known and respected leader in the marketing industry. And so I've made a significant investment in learning more. And this is one small business tip I want to provide to you as a business owner, is you need to take time every once in a while to step away from your business and invest in your own education. It makes you a better business owner and it makes you a better partner for your clients. So it's extremely important to be able to do that. Now, this system, before we even get into some of the steps, is based on, if you can see right here, the very center of it is a strategy. And the first thing that you need to know about setting a strategy is a strategy equals your ideal or profitable customer, your core message, and understanding the customer journey. So before we move on, I'm interested in knowing what your definitions of a profitable customer are. So let's just take a second or two, and if you could in the chat, just share with the rest of us what you think a profitable customer is. How would you describe a profitable customer? There are no wrong answers, so feel free to share. Are we going to see any brave souls? Okay. A client that, okay, good. Those are good. Repeat. Oh, good one. Okay. Yeah, client that pays the asking price. All right. A customer who returns again and again. Yes, good. All right. Do we have a few more? Because those are good answers, great answers. Okay. Yeah, so you definitely want to find those customers that will pay your price of what you're asking for your product or your service. Someone who's passionate about your message and product. Yes, that's great too. Those are all great answers. And here's how I define it. In fact, many of those answers of how I would have defined it years ago, but there's something that we want to add into the equation. Not only are they paying your price, but are they also easy to work with, or do they require a lot of hand holding? Are they requesting daily or weekly meetings with you? Do they detract from you trying to provide good customer service to them and to your other customers? And then one thing that we don't think about when we're thinking about a profitable customer is, are they referring you to their family, friends, to their other business partners? Because remember, a referral is so much less expensive to get as a client than starting from scratch and starting new. And a lot of times we don't think about that. We think the most profitable customer is just the one who is paying us the most. But there are other things that go into that. So whether you're just starting out with your first customer, I want you to keep that in mind. But maybe if you've got 5 or 10 customers right now, you want to sit down, take a look at the revenue you have from them, and then think about them in terms of customer service and the time involved. And then if they've ever referred anyone to you to help you grow your business. Once you understand those types of things, you can look at that business. Who are they? What industry are they in? How large is their company? All those specific demographics that help you define the customer that you want to go after. If you know who you want to go after, it's easier to find out where they are and to market to them. And that's how you want to define your profitable customer. So keep those things in mind. All right, and then with that, once you know your profitable customer, it's also easier for you to put together a core message. You need that core message. And the one thing I definitely want you to remember today is nobody wants what you sell. No one cares what your product is. No one cares what your service is. No one cares about this unless it's solving their problem. So how do you reframe your core message on the problem you solve for your customer, and then include that on all of your communication channels? So the question I always get, well, Kris, how do I know what my core message is? Where should I start? Well, first of all, what's the first reason why you went into business? You saw a need. And what is that need? And what's the problem that need solves? And then go ahead and ask. Asking is easy and it's free. If you have current customers, these are some good questions to ask about why they do business with you. If you already have reviews or testimonials, take a look again at those, and you'll be able to pull out some themes that resonate as to what problem you're solving, not just what kind of product you're selling. So you want to take a look at that, and that'll help you with your core message. Just real quickly, I've included 2 examples here, and I've included them as part of the main message on their website. Here is a local lawn care company, and it would have been very easy for them to say, your local lawn care company who's been servicing the Des Moines area for 10 years. Okay, how does that speak to the customer's problem? In talking with some of their current customers, we found out that they loved the fact that they could come home at the end of a long workday and not have to worry about mowing their lawn. But more importantly, we heard a lot of things like, I love coming and sitting in my backyard on my new patio, or I love my new flower garden. And so we came up with this creating your outdoor oasis because it affects a problem that many had. They didn't feel like they had a space to enjoy in their home, but they needed an expert to help them enjoy that space. Another one, and this is actually from a colleague of mine, and I'm so jealous that I didn't come up with this one on my own. But this is from a remodeling company. There's lots of remodelers out there. And let's face it, they all can deliver a great kitchen or a great bathroom. But it's that whole remodeling experience. If you've ever been through it, that just, okay, it just sucks most of the time for those who have been through it. But with these individuals, we found out, or this company, that their customers love the fact that the experience was smooth and was on time and was seamless. And so it was built into their core message. So those are just some of the ways that you can reframe about talking about your customer and not talking about you. Because no one cares how long you've been in business, really. No one cares how many awards you've won. Nobody cares if you're the industry leader. What they care about is that they see that you understand their problem and you have a solution. All right, next we want to talk about the buyer's journey. You need to understand how most people buy and then where you need to be to meet your customer on that journey. So we look at the buyer's journey like this, or a marketing funnel, whatever you want to call it. You want to get your customer to know and like and trust you, and then want to try and buy from you. And then the real secret sauce is repeat and refer. And I'm just going to do a quick overview of this process and how it all works together and what you need to have when you're marketing your business to reach each of these steps in the journey. First of all, to know, how are people right now getting to know about you? Are you running ads? Are you being featured in articles? Are you getting referrals from other people? This is some of the best ways for people just to find out about you, and that they see themselves in the story that you're telling. They see that you have a solution to a problem. And then the next step for most is they need to check you out. Get to know you a little bit more, get to like you. So that's why it's important to have that website, that e-newsletter, to be at events where they get to see and meet you. And then crucial is building that trust. And that's where the website's helpful, and other content where maybe it's a case study or it's testimonials or logos of other companies you've helped. If you're just starting out and you don't have a lot of those types of things, having blogs or articles on your website written by you that shows that you're a thought leader in the marketplace help establish that trust. And we're going to talk about content in a little bit. Then they want to be able to try you out. So whatever you're marketing or selling, is there something smaller that you could provide to them that's not a huge initial cost, that they could try you out? Like, for example, in the case of the lawn care company, a lot of their customers try them out as doing their lawn care, like mowing their lawn or doing a fertilizer treatment. That's a test to see what they're like to do business with, a smaller purchase. And then it usually leads into the $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 landscaping projects. So what can you offer that's smaller that might give someone an opportunity to try you out, develop that trust, and then want to buy? All right, buy. So here's where many people think the journey ends. The journey does not end here for customers. The buying process is more than just the financial transaction. How was that process? Did you provide good guidance on onboarding them as a new client? If you are selling something online, what was your fulfillment like, your delivery like? This step is so important, but so many companies just fall off the trail when it comes to this part of the journey, which leads us to the other parts. And if you'll notice this, keeping the customers delighted, that's something I added in from our original journey. Throughout my career, I have seen thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of marketing dollars and thousands of hours of marketing staff wasted because they've spent all this time getting the customer, and then once the customer's there, then they forget about them, or they've made it really difficult to do business with them. And just like many of you said in the comments, that a good customer is one who continues to buy from you and then, of course, refers you. So if in the repeat process, do you have customer surveys that are asking about how things are going and what other needs they have? Are you doing any cross-selling? Are you sending emails to current customers who have purchased who might want to consider an add-on or consider another one of your products or services? Are you continuing to go to events or inviting customers to events that you're hosting maybe at your business location or other, these are some ways that you can work on repeat business. And then referring, you definitely want to be able to invite reviews, ask them for introductions to their partners, and then maybe do some co-marketing activities. Maybe you do a webinar together. But these are all the parts and pieces that you need to be able to meet the customer on their journey and to understand that there is a process and a system before someone buys. Think about your own journey. Okay, are we ready to dive into it? I know there's a lot of introduction, but it's really helpful that you understand these basics and the strategy because it saves you, again, time and money from wasting those things on tactics down the road. So let's talk about our website. All right, a website, you need a website, and I hope that goes without saying. For those of you who are just getting started and thinking, well, I have an Instagram page, I have a Facebook page. That's a great start, but you need a website. And why do you need a website? Because today's world is ruled by search. People searching for solutions to their products. I'm not saying everything is done through an online search, but most of it is. And websites are what fuel search. Social platforms do not. They help, but they don't give the fuel that places like Google or Bing or other platforms need. So you need that website. Here are just a few of the things, a few of the jobs your website has to do. So your website definitely has to tell your story. Of course, you want to share, okay, what do I offer? What are my core offerings? Who do I serve? If you're a local business, you need to have your name, your address, a phone number. Those are so helpful. We'll get into that in a little bit. You need content, and we're going to talk about that. Testimonials, CTAs, or call to action. Those should be sprinkled throughout your site. A button, whether it's call now, or it's book a meeting, or schedule to learn more. Those have to be part of your website. And then your website has to be mobile friendly and has to be secure and also fast. The mobile, secure, and speed are all things that are important that Google will knock you down the list if you don't have. And again, I do want to reiterate that we're talking about how can you be found online when someone is searching for you. And we're focusing on Google today, but these are the things that you'll need to do to make sure that you're found. And these are the things that you can do and don't cost a lot of money that will help with where your rankings are in Google. Even if you want to pay for customers to find you, whether it's a Facebook ad or a Google ad. If you don't have these things in place that we're talking about, and especially with your website, that also will hurt your chances of having your paid advertising be effective. Because get this, now Google has your website as a ranking factor that they're going to look at your site and go, okay, is this content related to what this ad is talking about? And if it's not, your ad can even be knocked down farther in the search rankings. Your paid ad could even come under those who are doing a better job with the tactics we're talking about here. So good online marketing is not just thinking, oh, I'm going to go spend a bunch of money on Google, or I'm going to go spend a bunch of money on Facebook. It's really having these underlying things in place so that it can be more effective. And I don't know about you as small business owners, do you really have hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month to be spending on paid digital advertising? If you do, great, that's wonderful. If you don't, these are some of the things that you can at least do to help with your organic rankings. All right, so we're going to talk about content. Content is different forms. We hear a lot about it in blogs, product pages, social, videos, and then links. Content is built around what people are searching for and what those key search terms are. So in the marketing world, it's keywords. And you want to not only have content that meets the needs of your customer, but content that also includes some of those key search terms that Google is using to serve up content to your customers. What's the best way to think about keywords and the keywords you should be using? First, start with some brainstorming with colleagues, coworkers, friends. What do you search for when you're looking for whatever product or service you sell? So you can start putting a list together that way. Google has a great tool called the Ads Planner. You don't need to have an ad account to use it, but it's a great tool that you can put in your search term, and then it'll tell you how many searches are on it per month, what kind of competition you have, what are people paying on average per click to use that search term. It gives you a lot of great information. But then there are some other just simple tools that you can use as well. Google Suggest, which really all that is right here. It's going to Google, putting in a search term, home improvement Des Moines, scrolling to the bottom of the page and looking at what other searches are being done in that term. So it's some other good ideas that, oh, maybe if I'm a remodeler, I should be talking about kitchen remodels. If I'm a remodeler, maybe I want to talk about bathroom remodeling because so many people are searching on that search term. Another idea is Wikipedia, which this is actually a new tool for me because one of the hard things about content, and it's hard but effective, is what do I write about? Well, in Wikipedia, you can put in a search term and then they give you this table of contents for the rest of the information that's included in the page, and it can be a good source for topics for you. So think about using some of these tools. There are free tools, there's paid tools. There's a tool called Uber Suggest, and UberSuggest, yeah, Uber Suggest. You can start out free and then pay for it, but it's a great tool for finding keywords that are effective and are being searched on by your customers. I'm going to take a break here. Are there any questions that have come up during this time that I could answer? And I will let you know I'm going to take questions at the end and then also provide you my contact information to answer questions too at the end. I'd love to be able to do that as well, but is there any questions at this point in time?
I don't see any in chat at the moment.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to keep going then. The next tool that's helpful, again, for making sure that the people who need your solution is to master everyday SEO, search engine optimization. And I apologize for how this graph isn't real clear, but the reason why this is so important is, again, the number of people that are starting their search on a search engine, 80%. They might go right directly to a website, which is why it's important. But that Google search is really number one. So if you want to make sure you're in front of your customer, this is what's going to be helpful to you. Now, there's 3 key elements into search engine optimization. There's your website. Of course, we talked about speed, making sure it's secure, which is the HTTPS. Also how your site's organized. There's words on your site, which include the contents and the keywords. There's links to your site, backlinks, which we'll talk about, but I want to talk real quickly about the metadata on your website. So buckle in here, folks. We're going to start diving into the weeds a little bit, and it's not meant to scare you, but it's meant to educate you. Some of you may decide, I don't want to deal with this. So you'll go hire someone to help you with this, and that's fine. But it's important enough that I want you to be aware of what needs to be done so that you can work effectively with someone, a third party, and helping you with this. So there are 2 ways to help your organic rankings on Google on search engines. There's the stuff you do on your website, and then there's the stuff you do off your website. Okay. Now, the stuff you do on your site requires you to have access to the back end or the admin panel of your website. And here's why this right here is so important. You've written this beautiful blog. It speaks to your customers' needs. You've included, maybe 5 to 10 to 15 of the top keywords. You've posted it on your site. That's a great start, but that's not enough. So Google wants to be able to crawl your website and get into your metadata to understand what that blog post is about. So you'll put a cute headline and a catchy headline for your readers, but then when you go into the admin part of your site, you're going to want to use things like a great URL, use your keyword in the URL, use it early, use your description, and then make sure you're also putting in descriptions for any images you use. So an example of this is down here at the bottom, where this again is in the admin section of your site. So if you're in WordPress, this is the WordPress uses a plugin called Yoast SEO, which makes it easy for you to go in and fill out this information. If you're using a Squarespace website, they have a built-in plugin, if you will, too, in their settings area that's for under SEO, where you want to go in and actually fill out what is the title, what is the description, and these are the things that are then eventually shown in Google when you do a search. So I know there's some of you right now thinking, okay, I don't want to deal with this. This is too like website development for me. Fine, you can go get some help, but you don't want to not understand how important this is. For example, I'm just recently working with a new client that they already had a website. They had a great navigation. They had great speed. It was mobile friendly. The content was good as far as their product offering. They didn't have a lot of other content, blogs, articles, which we're working on. But when I got into the admin part of their website, none of their metadata had been filled in. Nothing was done. So even in the organic rankings, their site wasn't coming up, or at least on the first couple pages of Google, because they had done none of this work. So something just to be aware of. All right, offsite, stuff that you do away from your website that you may not have as much control over, is you want other sites to link back to your website. The reason for that is that Google is in the business of showing your customers the best content they can find when they go in and do a search. That's how Google makes their money. They get customers coming back time and time again. It's why they're number one. It's why they can charge what they do for paid advertising, because they are working every day to serve up the best content. Now, I'm not saying that happens 100% of the time, but that's the goal. So one of the factors they rank on is how many links are coming from one site to your site. Wow, this site has 50 backlinks, or this site has 200 other websites that are linking back to them. We should pay attention to this website. This is good content. This is who we should be serving up to when someone types in home improvement. This is a good site. So that's why these links are so important. You can do things like look at your competitors and who they're linking back to. There's actually online services that you can pay to have that done. Then what are you doing about maybe guest posting on someone in your network's website and then get that link back to yours? What about a podcast? Podcasts are excellent backlinks. So, and there are services out there right now where you can go and submit your name and topic and be a guest on a podcast and get that backlink. Here's where social is really helpful. Anytime you write a blog post, you want to share that on your social accounts and then link it back to your site. That's so important to use to be able to share your blogs on your social platforms. And then there's other external links. Some of these are pretty easy. For example, do you already belong to a chamber of commerce? When you become a member, ask how they handle their membership directory and if they are linking directly to your website. What about a school alumni association? Do they have a membership directory where they can link back to your site? Your church, what about your other business partners? Do they list their people they do business with and link back to websites? And then local events. Local events are great to be involved in, not only because they're, great PR, it's great to be involved in the community, but you get some backlinks out of there as well. So these are just some of the things you should think about as you're looking to create backlinks to your website. And then something that not a lot of companies take advantage of are what's called citation directories. There are hundreds of them, maybe thousands. I don't know. I'm not familiar with every single one out there, but these are websites that exist just to list companies based on industry, based on geographic location, if they are a review site. So these are just some of them right here. These are the ones that maybe today you want to go on and apply to. They're free, but you do have to submit your information so that you're included in part of these directories. And these are great links as well. Now, there are listing services, moz.com. If you go there, you can get a free review and just see by whatever chance you might have listings already on a directory. WhiteSpark is another one. WhiteSpark, I don't think offers the free tool, but then you can pay to monthly, have them make sure that you're listed on all of the applicable directories. They'll send you an email when there's an issue or when there's something comes up. So these are great places to get listed as well. So backlinks are very important, but I want to give you one little caveat. There are a lot of companies out there trying to sell you backlinks. No. I mean, that sounds easy, but you don't want to do that. fact, Google knows when you're doing that. I mean, it's weird how Google knows all this stuff, and Google will actually knock you down. They could even suspend you by using some of these spammy tactics. So just be careful of those things. And then finally, the two things you want to make sure that you are part of is bingplaces.com, which is Microsoft's version of Google Business Profile. And Google Business Profile is formerly Google My Business. Today, we're just going to focus on Google Business Profile because of time, but you need to go out there and make sure that you have claimed your Google Business Profile and that you are doing these activities to help with your local search. Especially if you're doing business just locally, this is something, and you haven't done this yet, hopefully you can get to it today or tomorrow. It's very important that you, first of all, claim it, and that then you make sure there aren't like double listings of your company out there, because that can create problems with your search rankings. You want to make sure you have your name, address, and phone, because that helps with search rankings. For example, if you would do home improvement near me, you want to make sure your company is coming up. Anytime there's a near me search, you want to make sure your company's coming up. You need to treat Google Business Profile like you might be treating your Facebook or Instagram page. You can post photos, hours. You should be posting there a couple times a week. It's an excellent tool to help with search rankings, and you need to treat it like you might treat a Facebook or a Instagram. And let's see, and I just did a quick little example here, the Iowa Center. This is great. They've got an ad going for their own URL, which is perfect. And then here's where they've claimed their business profile. And there's more information down here, but this just gives you an example of the fact that they've claimed it and that they're using it as a good tool. So good job. All right. The next letter in our acronym is R for reviews. I'll tell you right here now, this is something that I was not always on the ball with. In my old agency, you need to ask for reviews. Reviews are so important, not only as a trust factor on that buyer's journey, but also for local search rankings. So you should ask for a review anytime you've had a chance to do business with a customer. Send them an email. I just got an email today from a partner I'm using asking me to do a review. In this instance, they just wanted me to send back my comments, but you can use a review service. There's services like podium.com, asknicely.com, where it becomes automatic after each transaction. And then what's really ideal is if you go to Google My Business, there's actually your own customized Google review link in Google My Business, where if you copy and paste that link into your emails or social media, probably want to do mostly your emails, then they can click on that link and it takes them right to Google to give you a review. You should always respond to all your reviews, whether good or bad. But that's an essential part of local search rankings. And then take your reviews and repurpose them. Put them on your website, put them in your emails, put them in social, and then give reviews. And then ask for reviews from your partners or vendors. But don't fall for the LinkedIn. I get a lot of LinkedIn things saying, can I leave you a review? And you don't want to do that. So, question.
Rebecca asked, is this only for a brick and mortar business?
Leaving a review? No, that's whether you're service-based, any kind of whatever. Oh, did we not get it?
Was for the previous section.
Sorry, Rebecca, what's your question for brick and mortar as it pertains to reviews or something else? Oh, just for Google My Business, maybe in general?
That's what I was kind of thinking.
Oh, Google My
Like
Business.
how you make the listing for your Yep.
Yeah. So Google My Business, if you're a service-based business and you do business locally, you want to do Google My Business. To be honest with you, or Google Profile, I should say. Sorry, thank you. Um, Even if you do business nationally, it's nice to have claimed that your Google profile, and then you could set it up to where instead of a specific address, it's just a general area. But Google Business Profile is really effective for any business, but boy, if you're doing business locally, whether service-based or whether brick and mortar, you want to claim it and you want to work with it. So hopefully that addresses the question. And we can discuss it later too. Okay, a few more slides and we'll wrap up here. A lot of content today. Social media. Small business owners, pick one or two platforms and then do them great. Don't kill yourself trying to be everywhere on every platform. It's just not an effective use of your time, because you need to remember that social builds awareness and trust. It doesn't necessarily convert to customers. I've heard, over the years, or I work with a new client and they'll say, well, so-and-so, my competitor, has 2,000 followers. And then I say, well, but how many of those followers are actual customers? Well, I don't know that, but you have to keep that in mind. It's very easy to hit like or engage, and it's great to build awareness, but it's not a tool that alone that will get you a customer. It's there to build awareness, to build trust, showcase what you're doing, showcase your team, showcase your clients, to then move them over to your website for them to continue down that buyer's journey. Take some time and use a scheduling tool. There are a lot of paid scheduling tools out there, but then just recently, Meta, the parent company, Facebook, they've introduced their own scheduling feature where you could sit down in an afternoon and plan out 30 days worth of social media posts, which is probably a better use of your time as a small business owner. Images and video are great. You know what? Organic is hard. Facebook is a paid advertising tool if you're using it for business. It's paid. As an organic tool, you're reaching an extremely small percentage of your followers if you're only doing organic. And so that's why I always suggest to have a budget for some paid tools on Facebook. I think most people are used to hitting that boost button, and that's okay because you can do some targeting with that. But the true benefit of Facebook paid advertising comes in their advanced features. You want to install that Facebook pixel, which gives you some tracking information. And then you want to look into things like lookalike audiences and custom audiences. Custom audiences, you can use those who have visited your website, or you can upload an email list. And then Facebook will target those people based on if they signed up with that email to Facebook. Lookalike audiences you upload a list or you use a list from your website, and that tells Facebook to go out and look for similar people to those audiences. So those are some of the advanced features that I encourage small business owners to use. And there are some good online tutorials about how to use it more specifically. So that leads into the final thing of, not final, second to last, lead generation. Email, this is all about email marketing. Email is a great tool to use to reach your customers digitally online. But as I just said about Facebook, it's a great tool to build a list so you can use the list for other things. How do you build that list? It's by having what we call a lead generator or a free download. So what's some information that you could share with your audience that they in turn would at least have to give you an email address. So I know in my world, we did once the top 10 tools for your marketing tool belt. It was a nice PDF. They could download it. They just had to give us their name and email address. A current client that I have now does online classes. And for one of their more expensive classes, we've then turned the curriculum overview into a PDF. And so interested people have to download that to get more information about the curriculum. But then that's an email list that we are constantly, well, not constantly, but then emailing them about, class updates or registration or signups. So think about what kind of value you could provide to your customer that they could download and then share that wherever you can and start building that email list. Because remember, that email list is helpful in that buyer's journey, whether it's them getting to like you, whether it's building some trust, or definitely in that repeat part of the journey to cross-sell them. So think about that. Lastly, definitely want to report and track. None of this is any good if you're not tracking what's effective and what's not. So you should use things from Facebook, your email stats like open rates. And then today I'd like you to do some research on Google Search Console. And once you've claimed your business and verified it, then go ahead and set up the Search Console. For those of you familiar, that used to be, most of this information used to be in Google Analytics, but they have now moved it over to Search Console. And this is where it tells you where your site visits are coming from, what keywords people are finding you on. It's just a wealth of information. So I definitely encourage you to look into that. And then real quickly, we're going to just touch slightly on Google advertising. There's two different types of ads you can do on Google. You can do a search or you can do a display. Search is what you're seeing right here. It's just when you type in something, this is what pops up. And display is when you're actually pushing out ads onto websites of those that you think might be interested in your product. Search definitely is more targeted, and it's what we love search because it has great buyer intent. People searching on your product who definitely need you. And display, you're pushing out your branding and maybe some product advertising, and you may or may not reach people who need you. But search is a great way to make sure that you're reaching those profitable customers who need your solution. And then I definitely encourage you to use ad extensions. And ad extensions are these things right here that give you more content in an ad. And like, for example, free trial, something that might be a little more something that a customer might really like to see. And it's more than just what you see down here at the bottom. So, and then there's some great online tutorials for that as well. Some of those tutorials and where you can go to get more information, Udemy, and sorry, I just realized that should be udemy.com, not .org. If you're not already using it, it's a great place to get great online classes that are very inexpensive. I've taken a few of them myself, and you get some really good information. Core messaging, if you're looking for how to further develop your core message, highly recommend the book Story Brand by Donald Miller. If you're already not using Canva for a lot of your image development on social or web, great tool. You don't need to be a graphic designer. And then definitely that Google Search Console, I think, is a great thing that you should be doing right away. So with that, I'm going to open it up to some questions. I know I gave you a lot of content. If we don't get time for all of them today, I do want to encourage every one of you to reach out. I'm happy to answer questions. And now I probably won't be able to write you a marketing plan without some fees involved, but but as a small business owner, I appreciate mentors and people who've helped me along the way. And so if I can help anybody else out there along the way, I'm happy to do that. So thank you everyone for your time and attention today. I really appreciate it. And TJ, I'll turn it back over to you.
I'll ask this question, of course, and wait to see if there are any questions.
Okay.
But what is the one thing you want people to know? What do you want the clients to take away?
I want you to know that marketing is and reaching your customer is not just tactic of the month. It's really easy to get sucked into, oh, I just read this blog post about how TikTok is the greatest thing in the world. And then suddenly you're putting all your money and resources into TikTok. Um, Marketing is as a process, as a system, and it takes some strategy behind it. Once you have a system put in place, it's not set it and forget it, but it's set it and make more valuable use of your time as a business owner. So that's why you need a system and the foundational things that we talked about today.
Well, I took a ton of notes today, so
Oh, good.
it'll be good. Um, and then do you have any upcoming events or anything you would like to let us know about?
Well, in fact, I probably shouldn't share this part. I just put it up today, but if you go to my site, I am going to be doing a deep dive into the Google business profile. So for those companies, I mean, like I said, any company, but definitely if you're doing business in this local area, I'm going to be doing a webinar just on how to make Google business work for you and everything you need to do to make sure that that's working in the background for you. So if you go to brandspecmarketing.com, that you'll see a sign up for the webinar, and you can just sign up, and then we'll send you a link and we'll spend some time diving into Google business.
Um, is there a cost associated with securing a website, and will you? Oh, we can't do that today, Darcy. That's a longer question. But yes, there is a cost associated with a website. And
Yes.
maybe, let me see, which social media platform would you recommend the most?
Oh, well,
Hard one.
yeah, part of your customer journey is understanding where they are. Now, if you're a B2B person, and I know I didn't talk about this, you probably want to be on LinkedIn. But if you're selling to your B2C, selling to the consumer, asking some questions, Facebook is still a popular tool to reach customers, and especially if you're using some of those features. So again, it's really hard for me to say in general because I would need to know your audience and where they are.
And the
Um,
age and
yeah,
it's a lot
yeah,
more into it than just
yeah. But if you're just getting started, definitely have a presence on Facebook, on Instagram. If you're you know what? People say, oh, if you're reaching that 20-year-old, you should be on TikTok. Well, I'm sorry, but there are a lot of people my age on TikTok. So it just depends on your audience.
She said, I meant to add SO. Is there a cost to making your HTTPS to make it secure?
It depends on what domain registrar you use. Sometimes they will make that certificate just part of the monthly fee or the fee that you pay to register your domain. So it definitely depends whether you're using like a bluehost.com or a namecheap.com. There are a lot of domain registrars out there. So it depends on how they charge for that, but you should always have it. Always means spend the extra money if you have to.
Okay, so we'll have to end there with questions. It's 1 o'clock. Kristine, thank you so much for taking the time today to share such valuable information with our audience. And thank you to
You're
the
welcome.
audience for being here, engaging, and asking questions. I wanted to take a quick moment to share some information about one of our upcoming programs tomorrow at noon. Always Ready Business Plan. Um, I always say that a business plan should always be an evolving document. This class will help you create a one-page business plan, or sometimes I say a strategic plan. So go to our website and check that out, www.theiowacenter.org. And with that, I will close with my one piece of advice for us all, and is to love what you do and do what you love. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.